President Trump says he might meet with the president of Venezuela as tensions flare between the two leaders over Trump's attacks on alleged cartel smugglers. The U.S. positioning military strength, including the world's largest aircraft carrier in the Caribbean, as the Pentagon takes on the cartels. But the move by the White House not being supported by everyone, including some on Capitol Hill. NewsNation's Kellie Meyer is live for us there at the White House following it all. So, Kellie, what are you learning at this hour?
Yeah, hey there, Nichole. So President Trump says that he may be speaking with Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in the future, he says. This comes as the president continues his attacks on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean in what he calls his war on the drug cartels, and as he builds up a large military presence near the South American country. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Ford, arriving on Sunday in the Caribbean. More than 5,000 sailors are on board. And another strike on Saturday on an alleged drug boat in the Eastern Pacific that the U.S. says its intelligence confirmed was involved in illicit narcotics smuggling, they said. 3 were killed in that strike, and the Pentagon has said some of those killed in these strikes are Venezuelan. Maduro has said he believes the Trump administration is trying to drive him from power. Here's more from President Trump last night.
We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
You said Venezuela wants to talk. What does that mean?
Venezuela would like to talk. What does it mean? You tell me. I don't know.
You want to talk to them?
I talk to anybody. I talk to you, right? I talk to anybody. We'll see what happens.
But around the same time the president said this on Sunday night, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the State Department plans to designate a cartel headed up by Maduro as a foreign terrorist organization. It's a move President Trump has suggested would allow the U.S. to target its assets or infrastructure inside Venezuela, but he says they have not decided whether or not they're going to do that. Nichole.
All right, so still no decision on that, Kellie. Has the president gone to Congress to discuss any of these potential options on Venezuela?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's something the president says he's open to, even though he says he doesn't need their approval. The Senate has made attempts, though, of reining in President Trump. A bill was narrowly rejected, though, that would have required Congress to sign off before President Trump could take military action against Venezuela. The vote comes as there are growing concerns about the administration's secretive operations in the region. Here's more from the president last night.
We like to keep Congress involved. I mean, we're stopping drug dealers and drugs from coming into our country. I said, go to Congress and let them know we're not letting drugs come through Mexico. We're not letting them come through Venezuela. And let Congress know about it. We don't have to get their approval, but I think letting them know is good. The only thing I don't want them to do is leak information that's very important and confidential and may put our military at risk, or whoever is doing, CIA, military, etc.
But members of Congress on both sides of the aisle have been outspoken about the moves by the Trump administration here, some asking for evidence of what drugs are on board. Some members say they were briefed that there was cocaine on board, not fentanyl. That's as the president claims that he's saving lives by targeting these boats and removing fentanyl before it comes into the U.S. Here's more from a Democratic senator on this.
So I don't think he'll find much support amongst Republicans or Democrats in this country for it. And by the way, it's wildly illegal. The president can't start a war with a nation without a congressional authorization. It's just another sign of how out of control and how lawless this president is, and another signal to Democrats as to why we need to draw those firm moral lines.
And American forces in the region have now reached 15,000 soldiers and sailors, the largest in decades. U.S. ships in the Caribbean, you see it there, 1 aircraft carrier, 1 special ops, 1 submarine, 3 amphibious ships, 1 Coast Guard cutter, and 6 surface warships. So a lot of military hardware there. We are waiting to see if we hear from President Trump in the 2 p.m. hour here at the White House, as he is set to speak on another topic, but he may get questions on this, a big focus here in Washington and around the world, really, today, Nichole.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.